Hello, can everyone see me? Just give me the thumbs up if you can see me and if you can hear me. I'm not hearing anything. Okay, great. So we're in, brilliant. Okay, so everyone, welcome to Tech Thursday. This is a very different Tech Thursday. We'll try and keep everything upbeat. There's a lot of terrible things going on at the moment. But look, we're here to just learn a little bit more about remote working. Just to give you some housekeeping rules first, I suppose. You're all working away in the chat there. What I suggest you do is you can see somewhere down there should be a poll if you want to fill in the poll, just a questionnaire there. And also the event is being recorded. So the fact that the event is being recorded means you don't really have to take notes. All of that stuff will be provided to you at the end. We'll also provide a document at the end with links and bits of information that we picked up along the journey here today. We also have Kieran. You'll see Kieran in the chat. I'll just get Kieran to do a wave in the chat there. Kieran will be passing on some of the links and the things that we've collected so far that you can have a look at if you wanted during the talk. Again, feel free to put your questions in the box down below. You can see, I think it's somewhere around there, you can ask a question. And in there you can ask a question to myself or to one of the three panels. And if you are asking the question to the panels, try and address it to panel 1, 2, or 3. You can also vote on the questions there as well if you don't want to repeat them. So that would be handy. And like I said, Kieran will be putting up those links as we roll along. So I suppose just a little bit about myself, because I know a lot of people in the room here already. Some people I don't know, so you're all very welcome to Tech Thursday if you haven't been here before. And myself, I'm from Kilkenny, obviously, and I run a design agency called Red Lemonade, and the majority of our work is around design and product strategy. So we help and validate business ideas before investing. So the aim is to try and remove some risk for our customers using methodologies like, let's say, the design sprint. And this then builds confidence in delivering a roadmap and execution of products and services. So what we'll do to start is I'll just show you a couple of slides just to give you an introduction of how things will run today. Hopefully I'll be out of here in about an hour. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how the chats go. But what I'm going to do then is move into presenting just the slides. So just give me 1 second here. So hopefully you can see the slides here. So again, I'd like to thank Nearform, LogMeIn, UXDX, HubSpot, and Saatchi, but more so the people behind those names. So thank you to James, thank you to Catherine from UXDX, Eric from Saatchi, Mag from HubSpot, and I believe Joe is here from LogMeIn. Joe, I didn't get to talk to you in the green room, but it's no problem. I can call you up when we get to your talk as well. So again, you just heard a little bit about myself, John at Red Lemonade, product strategy and design. No more to be said there. And then this is Tech Thursday in Kilkenny. So the whole idea of Tech Thursday Kilkenny is enterprise-led design and tech innovation events. And you're all very welcome if it's your first time. And again, the hashtag, if you want to use it today, is Tech Thursday KK. And again, we've seen a lot of these screens over the last couple of days. I do feel like the Brady Bunch on a few calls. It's certainly different times. So for the proceedings today, if you want, you can put your LinkedIn profile into the chat. That's optional. It may be a good idea if you want to share names and profiles. The event is recorded, like I was saying earlier on, so there's no need for notes, and you can grab all of those notes afterwards in the recorded session, and we will actually give notes to you at the end in an email. So feel free to mingle in the chat. Of course, you're already doing that. And again, like I was saying, those questions in the inbox below, if you want to add any questions. We have 3 panel talks today, and like I said, we'll close and follow up with that email summary of everything that we spoke about today. So the 3 panel talks we have today is online events and opportunities with Catherine and James. Then we have products to be productive, that's myself with Joseph. And then we have remote working life with Margaret and Eric. So that's the run. So, and at the very end as well, or I should say after each panel talk, we will have questions, and we'll have a few questions at the end as well. So what I'm going to try and do is get James and Catherine on screen. So just bear with me for 1 second. So hopefully we'll have James. James, how you doing?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Perfect.
Fantastic.
We'll just hold on for Catherine now. So again, these things are slow. Catherine, hello.
Hi.
So we're all here. So can we just get a thumbs up from everyone if they can hear us? I'm sure it's fine. But I think if I can hear Catherine and Catherine can hear James, I think we're all okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We're all good. So look, guys, this panel talk is all about events, remote events. And it's very interesting from both you guys in terms of from Catherine working with our owner, co-founder, I should say, of UXDX. You're heavily involved in events, and recently you put an event online that was supposed to be in several Nordic countries, and was it Patrick's Day on the day after? So yesterday on the day before, which is
we had a lot of physical Paddy's Day material going out to the Nordics, which didn't happen.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, it's just one of those things. And James has an event coming up on the 26th and the 27th of March. It's the Working From Home conference. So I suppose if I could start with you, Catherine, could you tell me a little about the event that just finished, I suppose, in terms of, you started out obviously having this as an event that was going to be in different cities, but now that's changed. Can you just go through how quickly you turned that around?
Yeah, it ended up being days. So we run community events, almost like mini conferences, but free all around Europe and in the US. We just got back from the US running our physical events there. And as this was progressing, before we even made the decision of going online, some venues were cancelling. Some venues were even preempting and cancelling for May.
Okay.
So we host them like any other meetup. We host them in places like Zendesk, in King in Stockholm, Musician, which was a tech company in Helsinki, and all over Europe. So the team had to get together to look at, I guess, tools and resources and to see what we could do. I guess the first thing that we did was take a step back going, well, are we just going to cancel? Then we, aside from doing research with our customers effectively and having a chat with people, we decided, yes, we could do the same thing online. But the real challenge for us was actually to see how we actually get the same value of a physical event and do it online. For us, it's really about the personal experience, the one-to-one conversations that you have, and that's very difficult to replicate. So there was a lot of work done in the back end to figure out tools and resources, as well as the approach that we were going to take to mirror that physical experience in a virtual world that goes beyond just a webinar.
Yeah. And what were those things then? I was at the event there yesterday and the day before, and you were making an explicit call out to people saying, please, when you go into the breakout room. So you had breakout rooms. So it wasn't just like a chat like we are here. There was breakout rooms where people could go from the chat into rooms based on different subjects at different times, let's say. And you made it very clear that put your face up on camera. It's really important because you wanted that element. And how did that work out? Because I wasn't in one of those rooms, so I couldn't get it.
Well, interestingly enough, we're all humans at the end of the day, and we need that physical interaction. It's just not the same being on text or being on voice. And we did a few experiments. We actually changed it slightly for the two events, which were 2 days in a row. And we did a retrospective afterwards, and we will be changing them again because we have the opportunity to actually learn over the next few months, because we'll be running them each month in each different city. The big learning for the breakout rooms, and it's why we went with Zoom, by the way, if anyone's looking at tools and resources, if I can get on to that. The ones that we looked at were Hangouts, Skype, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom. The reason why we chose Zoom was purely because of these breakout rooms, that people could actually have that interactive experience. It was very clunky, so we had to do a lot of testing. and a lot of different approaches to make sure it was as clear as possible. We even did a physical venue map to kind of replicate that physical look and visual element for people. Our designer did that up. But the breakout rooms went well. They didn't go as well as expected, because it's very difficult when you're in this situation that we're in of chatting to 3-4 people. It feels a bit forced, no different than a physical. So the learning that we took from that is that we are going to make them a bit more structured in terms of topics. So we'll do pre-voting polls, and we will actually get people to go in there with the speakers and talk about those topics that they really want to talk about, and have preempted questions that people can answer.
Okay, cool. I think, James, I might bring you in at this point, because you have an event coming up as well. Obviously, you were putting together this working from home conference long before the events that have unfolded in the last couple of weeks. So
no, this is like 2 weeks old. This is 2 weeks old.
2 weeks old. Okay.
I happen to keep talking because there's all kinds of things I need to know for next week. It's fantastic things to learn.
Stressful.
The work from home conference thing just really came as a result of seeing all the cancellations. I'm out in California. I work with people, literally all over the world with various open source projects, and near for my entire team is in Europe. So I'm in a situation where I'm not going to actually physically be in the same location with any of my coworkers or any of the people that I normally see at these conferences multiple times per year for I don't know how long. And seeing all these cancellations and stuff coming, seeing people just being really upset about this. It was just like, screw it. Let's just get online, do something, and even if it's imperfect, let's jump on camera and let's just do something. So this work from home comp is basically just an ad hoc, pull people together, see what we can do. If it's imperfect, it's imperfect, but let's do something and see where we get.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I mean, like the learning is only after doing, I suppose. So that's the way to go. Is there anything? One thing that came up from the green room session just earlier on before we started was, Catherine, you were saying it's absolutely draining on cam and working these kind of online events. So it's not the same as face to face. So that's something to consider as well, I suppose.
Yeah, like we're in very interesting times. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty, and working remotely is new for people. And that translates into the online events as well. So if you're sitting at your desk, so we ran an event from 12:30 to 5:30, which is a long day. It's a full conference, and that's what we're pitching is that. You come no different than you come and you interact no different than you would in a physical environment. So you're actually getting permission to be out of the office. You're not doing work, and you're stepping away from that. That in reality at a desk is still very difficult, because even me myself, you just look at emails. You might know some stuff that the presenter is talking about, or you might dip in and out. So the learning there from a virtual world would be to understand that. One of the things that we're doing as in our next series is actually giving people physical breaks, because it was so draining on us, because with the breaks were actually our time to network. So once we had two speakers finished or three speakers finished, we'd all jump into breakout rooms and start having a discussion. But we actually need to do 5 to 10 minute toilet breaks so that people aren't bringing their laptops to the toilet and having a conversation there. Because the team actually were only eating at 5 because they hadn't even had their lunch, and so therefore it's fine for the attendees, because so they can go off and make a coffee. But I think to really focus on an event and have them in the moment there, it would be better to actually take a break from that virtual environment and that screen and move away for 5-10 minutes. That was a big learning.
Yeah, that's very interesting. James,
definitely seconding on that and that one. I mean, I've been doing remote for 20 years. I mean, I'm used to being on conference calls, and I can't stand it when the conference calls are scheduled back to back to back, and there's no break between them, right? So it's like, you got to have the break. So like what we're doing next week is we're going to have 20-minute talks every 30 minutes. But between every talk, there's a 10-minute break. So you kind of break away and do something else, and then all the talks are going to be recorded. and available hopefully later that day, so people can kind of, if they miss one, if they need to step away for lunch or whatever, they can still watch it. So yeah, having the breaks is critical.
Critical, cool. And James, just in terms of for your own event, what software are you using? What apps are you using? What tools, I should say?
Right, we're still figuring out all the details. Like I said, it's pretty new. So we just had a talk with the technical team this morning. We're going to be using Twitch to do the streaming and to provide the room for chatting. It's like we're going to be using Skype to actually do the communication and the video call.
Yep.
If everything goes according to plan, we're actually going to be using a production company, a professional production company, to provide the actual hosting and the bridge for the video conferencing to the broadcast, which is fantastic. If we can pull that off, but so for most people, they'll log onto the Twitch channel. They can watch. We'll have the conversation going on there. We'll have moderators on there. People can ask questions and stuff as we go. And then we're going to have a few hosts kind of coming in between talks throughout the day. So.
And I know as well,
Twitch
is very good, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I haven't used it yet. And I'm afraid I might get back into gaming or something, so it's something to avoid it, For now, guys, just go back to what you were talking about earlier on. Is there, I suppose, you're talking about events, and Zoom would work very well for an event, and then you can use different apps. I know in different ways. And then like Crowdcast here works very well, I suppose, when it's on stage and a group of people at the side. So you can use them for different things. Could people use, or what? Okay, no, I suppose that's not the right question. I suppose, what other tools do you use besides, let's say, we'll end on this actually because we're actually running slightly over time. Can you just list off one or two tools that you use in your working remote life that might be useful to people who are just starting out or going to be using remote working a lot more? Whether it's leisure or whether it's productivity, whatever it might be, sanity, whatever.
The two that and I've seen here for as a whole just absolutely depend on are Slack and Zoom. Microsoft Teams is absolutely fantastic as well, but just for us, our entire business, we everything we do is remote, and we heavily depend on those.
Okay.
My recommendation wouldn't be necessarily tools, because I think the audience that are listening in have their own predefined tools that they use in work. It's more about the processes that they're going to set up now. So it's that work. How do you separate your work-life balance? So get out in the mornings for a 5-minute walk. Make that your commute. If you feel lonely and isolated, make sure you chat turning on your camera and chatting with your colleagues. We've recently set up for our remote team, we set up a no work talk lunch break, and even not at lunch break, just once a week, that the whole team can just chat about anything and everything and get to know each other. Straight away, the feedback on that has been invaluable. So it's more about how do you keep yourself motivated and focused and keep those office hours, even if they're not 9 to 5, but just keep your focus that you can achieve what you need to achieve, rather than saying 16 hours a day at a computer.
Yeah, so one of the just make one last thing, because I know we're running out of time. One of the companies that I'm familiar with, they use Zoom. They have everybody jump onto a channel in the morning, but they're all on mute, right? And they're not actively using it. It's just up in the corner, right? And anybody can just kind of pop off mute, and if they want to start a conversation, and stuff like that. Everyone else, if they need to focus on stuff, they just mute their audio, right, and let the other people chat, right? So it's kind of like an ad hoc water cooler type of thing that they have going. They're trying it out. They've been doing it for about a week, and so far the feedback is, it's working. So.
And then what I'll do then, guys, I'll just move some questions. Someone had mentioned. Lydia had a question. She said, when you see things settle down, do you think we'll see an increase in the adopting of work from home? I'd say probably.
I think employees or employers will start giving people more of flexible time. Because at the end of the day, and James, you will know more than this. Nearforum's been remote way longer than we have, but you trust the people that you work with. their personality doesn't change and their motivations doesn't change, whether there's a temporary glitch for a week or two while they're getting used to working from home, but those motivations still are the same and that person's still the same. So if trust is already built or you're building it, it will work out.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we've found is that, it really does down to trust. You trust you trust your people or you don't, and we trust people that they'll get done what they need to get done. And
okay.
That's the way it works.
Catherine has a question. Said, I'd love to understand how you lay ground rules so that people aren't working. I think it's easier when all are dialing in because it's a level playing field. But how do you keep people motivated to listen and not be distracted?
I'm going to assume that's from a webinar perspective.
Okay.
I'm making that assumption. So when people are dialing in and not getting distracted, you can't often. So you have to really focus on making your event and your webinar experience as engaging and personal as possible. The thing that I find that helps is when the chair is very interactive with the person. It's a very conversational flow, and also that the people dialing in have jobs. They have a role to play in this. So it's not just one-way communication between the speakers and just the speakers. The audience actually get to participate. That was one thing that jolted. A few people messaged me afterwards going, I wasn't expecting to have forced to put on my camera, and I was in my sweatpants and underwear. And I was like, that's absolutely fine. Chuck on a t-shirt and join us, or just don't have your camera on if needs be, but do encourage them to get involved and turn on that camera, and it will force them to interact, and do create ways of getting them to interact with you.
Cool. Quick question. Go on, Jim. Sorry.
It's super important, just for people to know it's okay to be distracted right now.
Okay.
You're not going to have everybody's attention, and right now, especially right now, that's perfectly okay.
Okay. No, it's a fair point, I think, because it's all new. This is a question from Rory, who's the co-founder of UXDX. What company are you planning to use for the bridge, James? I'm going to have to get you guys a room. I think that's what we'll have to do, Okay, and then we have another question from Maggie Ahern. James, for your team members in the Tramore office, do you organise your teams based on the time zone remote office based, while playing around with a few different things, and would love your take on that. What we find difficult is when the engineering leadership is on a different time zone to the engineers. So obviously time zones are always an issue.
Oh yeah, time zones are absolutely horrible. I'm not here in California. My entire team is in Tramore, Waterford, Germany, over in Switzerland. They're all over there. I started my day at 4 a.m. this morning, California time.
Right. Okay.
So it really just comes down. You make the adjustments where you need to make the adjustment. I don't think anybody has solved the time zone issue, and you absolutely have an issue. The best thing is you need to understand to be flexible. Asynchronous communication. Just because you're working right now doesn't mean anyone else on your team is, and you need to give them time to respond. There's hardly any question that needs to be answered immediately right now. Especially in tech, there's very few of those. So give people time to respond.
Give them time. Okay, listen, guys, that's where we'll leave it. And thanks for participating. You can stick around in the chat if you want. If you want to pass on any links to us that you want us to pass on to the audience, we can at the end. But again, much appreciated. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to take you down now. One sec. Okay. And I'm going to bring up our next speaker with myself, which is Joe. And we're going to be talking about products, and we're going to be talking about productivity. So if I can get Joe up on the screen. So Joe, if you can hear me, I should be sending you a request to go on screen. I know we didn't get a chance to talk in the green room earlier on. So we're just waiting for Joe. So I'll just have a look at a chat that we go through. Patrick just mentioned there in the chat that video and bandwidth has been a major issue this week. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. We started off with video and switched to audio. And I'll be interested to see how we adapt with bandwidth issues. Yeah, going forward, definitely, absolutely. and I think it was called by the European government to get Netflix to reduce the bandwidth as well. So we'll see how that goes. Joe, how are you doing? Okay, I think we can't hear you, Joe. So if you just want to check your sound, if people can't hear Joe, would you just let me know if you can hear Joe or not? You can sing a song, Joe, and just probably won't hear it. So if anyone can hear Joe, let us know. So Joe's going to reconnect. No, we can't hear Joe. So, okay. So Joe, what we might do is we might come back to you if you want to just check your, hold on 1 second. I see something down here that says that your sound is off. 1 second. Joe, what we might do is just come back to you in a few minutes. We'll just do the third panel talk first and then come back to you again. So yeah, I can see it's an issue here. It's just, it says here that the mic is off. So if you want to just log back in and whatever, we'll try again in a few minutes. Okay, we'll come back to you, Joe. So moving on, we'll just move on to the third panel and we'll get back to Joe then. So I'm just going to invite Mags and I'm going to invite Eric in. So okay.
Hi.
Mags, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. That's all good. So we're just waiting for Eric to come in now. Eric, hello.
Hi, how you doing, John?
Okay.
Hi, Mags.
Good.
Hi.
So we're all in. So listen, guys, thanks very much for coming on to the panel tonight. What we're going to talk about with you guys is, well, the fact that you guys have been working remote for a long time, both kind of part-time remote work, full-time remote work every so often. So I'm sure you've done years basically in the area of remote work. So I suppose what we're going to try and talk about is, I suppose, the human side, working with teams, what your experience has been in that area. So I suppose I'll start with the first one, which is like keeping team morale, because I know you all work with teams. Just Eric, if you want to start with that, just in terms of things that you've encountered or ways you've found to keep things moving when you are working remote.
Sure. Well, just by way of background, so I work 2 weeks remote of every month, and I work the other 2 weeks on location in Budapest. I lead a team of 14 people, and what I found is, in broad strokes, if you're a laptop in the corner of a room in a big meeting, it's very hard to get any kind of consensus or momentum going in the room. So that's a challenge, and there's no easy way around that. What works, I think, is maintaining good one-to-one check-ins with all your team. So I try at least to have a 10-minute, 15-minute one-to-one check-in with everybody in the team every week. Because otherwise what happens is you start losing the personal touch, and then you become just another icon on a video chat. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so definitely agree with having like the regular one-to-ones. It's like, I know it's hard when you're working with a lot of different people in a lot of different time zones, but yeah, just getting to know them. I think like the situation that we're in right now is a little bit different, like because everybody is remote. So I think everybody is making that extra effort. Like today we had like a virtual lunch where a group of us from our team just like sat around and just chatted, and we just all kind of had our lunch at the same time. And tomorrow we've set up like a virtual board game. So we're trying to do these different things at the moment. But yeah, I think it's just really keeping that communication open. One thing that we try to do with our teams is just, use Slack a lot, and like have everyone just put in like a little update. If you're not having like a daily team meeting, like have everyone put in a little update saying, yesterday I did this, today I'm doing this, and just have kind of a virtual scrum.
Okay. I suppose what I didn't mention to start was that Eric, you work for Saatchi and Saatchi, and you're based between Kilkenny and Budapest, and then Margaret, you're based in Kilkenny and you're working between Kilkenny and Dublin.
Yeah.
So that people have some context for that as well,
Yeah, so like before I started with HubSpot, I've been with HubSpot for the last year. So I'm in the office in Dublin 2 days a week, and I'm at home 3 days a week. And actually most of the people I work with are based over in Boston. But before that I was fully remote when I was with Expedia, and I was working with teams in Seattle, India, and the Middle East. So that was a real challenge. And I think the way that I tried to maintain those relationships was by having regular meetups. Like I try to get over to them maybe every 6 months or whatever. But obviously in this circumstance that we're in, it's not going to be possible for people. So, keeping up the communication and stuff like just having statuses. Like, we've tried to slim down on a lot of meetings. So like we have a room where like all of the product managers once a week, they give a status on, these are the things that we're working on. These are the links that you need to get to different pages, and trying to kind of reduce the millions of meetings that are going on all the time.
Yeah,
they do. They're quite draining, I think, the meetings online.
Yeah.
And I suppose something, obviously we're all, like Mike, you were saying, we're all working at home at the moment. Everybody pretty much is in this technology and anyway. But irrelevant to that, but just in the family life and work, I know everyone has kids at home as well at the moment. So that makes it, puts a different variability on everything. But for family life and work life, it's easy to separate them all under one roof, or you actually, what do you do? I've been given ground rules and I'm only home 2 days,
Yeah. Well, my take on that, I mean, the right person or people to answer that would be my family. So they're the people who bear the brunt of the stick. So that I'm locked away in a little cupboard talking to a screen. To be honest, I mean, they're super patient with it, and I think we've got a good dynamic going now. So there's the daddy's on a call now if it's just internal, or daddy's on an important call now if it's with the client, and then they know that the noise level has to go down a few decibels. But yeah, it's not easy, because it is a bit isolating, and you're home, but you're not at home because you're tucked away.
Yeah, for us, like we kind of said, like before this happened, we just sat down and said, like my two boys are 4 and 6, so like, because my husband works remotely as well, he's only in Dublin 1 day a week, so like we're used to the dynamic of being at home. So before this started, and when we knew the schools were going to close, we just said, okay, we can't be doing this. We're wandering around the house with laptops, and we're trying to talk, because we're all just going to end up just killing each other. So basically we said, my husband is doing 9 to 1, I'm doing 1 till 5, and kind of like what James was saying, like, I've been up at 6 o'clock in the morning trying to catch up on things, and after the kids are gone to bed, I'm catching up on things. But like, there's always somebody who's going to be able to give the kids their full-time attention at the moment. The other thing that we're doing in our place is we have brought on like a primary school teacher who does a Zoom for the kids, for the parents who have kids. We're doing it like every day at the moment for half an hour. And even if obviously companies will have different budgets, but even if you could just do it once a week, or like the other thing that we're looking at is seeing if we can give all the parents Disney Plus year's membership and stuff like that. So like, it's kind of thinking outside the box and looking how you can support your teams best, and just being understanding. And I think for anyone here who has kids, like, just be straight with your manager. Just be like, okay, look, these are the hours I can do, and I'll try to be as flexible as I can around that, but this is just the circumstance that we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
The other great leveler in the current situation is that clients who were in their ivory towers before in the posh offices are now at home just like us. So you know, the reality of family life is fully visible to everybody in every call, and that's the way it should be. I mean, there's no.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I suppose then, in terms of like the tools that you use every day remote, just say from a work element in being in work and productivity, etc. What kind of tools do you use on remotely, Mag? Yourself?
So Slack, Zoom. Yeah, kind of like Catherine said, she tried a lot of the different ones and, you know, decided that Zoom was the best. We found Zoom is the best. I've used Blue Jeans a lot in the past and I found some issues with that. Google Hangouts is good because it's you know, it's inexpensive. Also like Trello and more interactive things like Miro or Mural are good. Yeah, those are probably the best ones.
Yeah, we've seen that in the chat there. If you think Brendan Tobin, a few people have mentioned Mural and Miro, and I think they are becoming, you know, products that people are using a lot more. And I know, Eric, you mentioned Trello to me, and we're using that all the time now as well on the project management level. So there's other ones as well that you could mention, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trick is to find tools that people feel comfortable with. So, for example, last week we had a workshop where everybody threw ideas into a PowerPoint on OneDrive because people knew how to handle a PowerPoint slide. I think the trick is not to let the tool get in the way. If people are comfortable on Google Hangouts, then let them use it. That's my advice.
Okay, cool. And then in terms of exercise and keeping faith and, you know, clocking off at the right time, is that something that you have to learn? Are they some of the pitfalls to watch out for if people are going to be going through a stint of maybe a month at home now and longer? Is that something you noticed yourselves when you started out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, cabin fever is a real danger. So I think it was a good. I can't remember who made the suggestion, but get out at the start of the day is a good one because get a dose of oxygen. And what works for me is I've been able to maintain a daily walk for the past 5-6 years. And I've tried to do spurts of sport along the way, but like I took up cycling a year ago, but I'm not doing it right now. But the walk is a hard one to drop because it's so easy to do. So it's a good one for a daily dose of oxygen.
Okay.
Yeah, like I try to be kind of strict with the times that I work. Like the morning is when I kind of put my head down and, you know, I take a couple of hours break in the middle of the day. And then in the afternoon, I usually do all my meetings in the evening. That's kind of when I catch up on Slacks. Aside from the exercise, like I've started trying to go for a run in the morning, like a couple of days a week now. But what I use, which I find amazing, is the sleep casts from Headspace. So they just like put me to sleep straight away, and they just kind of like you just forget about everything. So I've been using them probably for about a year now to sleep.
Okay, yeah, I've got a load of those to go through as well in terms of how to unwind and stuff. But I think when we bring back in Joe in a few minutes, Joe had put up an article on LinkedIn today, and there was some opinion poll that I had out a while ago, and it was about what's the biggest struggle with remote work, and the number one thing was unplugging after work and what do you do. So yeah, that is a big thing. So listen, I'm just going to go check. Do we have any questions from the audience? So here we go. We have any thoughts on cameras on, off, on video calls? I feel like people with cameras off are just not as engaged in conversations. Yeah, fair point.
I found the best feature on Zoom this week, which is you can touch up your appearance. So
really?
I just feel like it has changed my life. So anyone using Zoom, there is a touch up feature for the video. I can send you the link to how you get there.
It's a plugin, is it?
No, it's just on it. It's just in the settings.
All right.
Settings, video, and then there's a checkbox that you can tick.
Grand.
Makes me look 10 years younger.
Okay, brilliant. And just to finally end with, is there any other tools or things that you use? I think that was a really good example that you gave there, Mike, that you use to relax afterwards. Is there any other tools or things that you do? If you don't have any, if you said them all, that's fine, but if that else comes to mind, and then we'll close on that.
For me, it's my calendar. So I think if you're working in a an office environment where you're talking to people, your calendar is less important. When you're remote, it's super important, and you have to be the ruler of it. So I block out. What I do is I look at the week ahead, and I block out 3-hour blocks when I know I have to have thinking time, when I can do deep thinking, and then just don't let anybody touch them. So
okay. I suppose I'll throw out a few different things that I found as well was Brain FM. So I don't know if anyone has been using that, but that is really, really good. So you can actually go on a trial for that. I'll get Kieran, he'll put up a link to it there. But it allows you, it has these different kind of sounds or rhythms and beats that go through your headphones for focused and relaxing, and for sleeping as well. Sleeping one is pretty good. That knocks you right out. And it has some guided meditations as well, but it's really, really good for focus. So if you want to put on the headphones and get down to work, they have some scientific proof anyway. It makes you work harder, and I'll buy that, and it seems to be working for me anyway. You know, well, I did pay for it, but anyway. Other things as well. Netflix Party. I've heard a few people talking about this at the moment. The Chrome extension to watch Netflix with your friends online. Thought that was a pretty cool idea. And the other one, we talked about Trello. I think that's quite good. I'm using as well, I've decided to get into kind of the start of the year meditation. And with all the stresses of the last few days, a bit of meditation is a great way to even you out a little bit. And I've always struggled with the meditation, but I'm now using a thing called Muse. So it's called Muse, and it's an EEG real-time feedback on your meditation. So it actually goes around your head. So if you can see it there, so you actually strap it onto your head, and it actually, as you start thinking too much, it begins to remind you by playing sounds through your earphones, and it calms you down or pushes you back to working on your breathing. It sounds ridiculous and half you're laughing, but it really does work in training you how to use meditation. So things like that can be really useful, you know. But like I said, that Brain FM is really, really good. And there's another one called the Yoga Shala. So I started yoga at the start of the year. I'm not doing a huge amount of it, but it is pretty cool. And just only this week, we were staying on holidays in a place that had a yoga shala, you know. But there was, I found a video online, an Irish video by, I think his name is Lara and Brendan Cunningham, the guy who set up the Porter Shed in Galway. And they have their own website for yoga. And there's 2 really good videos on it. Kieran is going to put up the link there now. It's called the Yoga Shala. Dave Cunningham, sorry, the guy from Porter Shed. And the Yoga Shala is really good. There's 2 videos, one kind of on breathing and the other one is on exercise by Dave. And I've seen enough videos in my time to know that those 2 are pretty good, and it's free and you can just go on and do them 30 minutes or whatever. And Kieran had actually mentioned as well in terms of, we were talking earlier on about Twitch and stuff, Discord, which is another free app that you can use, and it's an all-in-one voice and text chat. It's free, secure, and works on desktop and on the phone. So it's worth checking that out as well. And again, just those simple things like don't be looking at 24-hour news channels or scrolling through your social feeds when you should be working. You shouldn't be worrying about a lot of things and the context that's been put in front of you. So look, guys, thanks very much for that. What we'll do now is we'll try and connect in with Joe, and we'll take some questions as well. I think there's no other questions for you guys. Nope, that's it. Listen, guys, much appreciated. Thanks very much. And we might call you back at the end for questions if something comes up.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
See ya. So we'll just call up Joe now. So Joe is working for Log Me In. And here we go. Okay. It's just not working. Okay, 1 minute. It just seems like your sound is off and it's not allowing me to turn it on. Okay, we can hear you now. So could I just get a thumbs up from the people if they can hear Joe? That would be great, but I think we're good. I know there's a little bit of a lag on the chat, but yep, we're all good, Joe. Listen, Joe, much appreciated. Thanks for coming in today and for the chat. Apologies for the technicalities earlier on. And I suppose with yourself, Joe, you're with Log Me In now about a year or 2, is it? Or how long are you with Log Me In?
Not even a year. It's only 6 months.
Not even a year.
not even a year and 6. But
I've done my research, you know.
I've been in these tools for the last 4 or 5 years. I worked before LogMeIn. I worked with BT, pretty much, reselling Skype for Business, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, and Cisco Jabber into kind of large organizations. And with LogMeIn, we tend to work with more smaller to medium-sized companies, kind of, small business, anything from, 10 staff up to 1,000 staff is kind of our sweet spot. But yeah, we've been in the field of remote working for a long time. Our GoToMeeting product's been around for 15 years. There's been too much talk about Zoom for my liking on the last 40 minutes.
I was
talking more about GoToMeeting. They were deliberately holding back.
The best to last, Joe. But what I'm going to do is so what I'm going to do first of all is like LogMeIn. People probably heard that brand name to start with, because remember it was all a buzz going back a few years ago when you could log into another machine and you can make any changes. So could you just give people who don't know about it what that LogMeIn product is and how it could be useful to people right now, which it really could be?
Yeah, well, it's a couple, right? We really are experts in remote working tools, and there's kind of 5 products at the moment, right? We've a number of products that are there for IT people, so things like Rescue and Pro and Central, which are tools that allow remote access and remote monitoring and managing a tool. So you think an organization now that's got 250 people working for them that are all working from home, and it's tools that allow the IT team manage all those laptops and tools remotely. And then also for people that had desktops, right, that didn't have laptops that they could take home. We've GoToMyPC, which allows users access their PCs from computers remotely. So say people working in contact centers that can't physically take that computer home with them, they can dial in remotely and then use everything that's on their PC and still fulfill their jobs. And then we have our collaboration tools, our video conferencing, our collaboration, screen sharing, chat products. That's GoToMeeting. And we've GoToWebinar as well, which is for marketing people like yourself. So a product like Crowdsource that allows, live broadcasting up to, I think it's 3,000 participants on our top product. And just one thing to mention on all those products, John. If you're working in education, if you're in healthcare, if you're in the front line helping people with the current kind of COVID response, if you're a not-for-profit organization that's trying to stay afloat, all those tools are available free for all those customers over the next 90 days. So they just need to register their interest with LogMeIn, and we'll have someone get in touch with them and provision them with the tools that they need.
Yeah, if you would give us a direct link for that, we'll put it up for people afterwards as well.
No problem.
We'll get that out. So I suppose in terms of the communications and collaboration tools that LogMeIn have, so I mean, having you here is great because you've got very different tools for different, you'd use them for different things. So like you have GoToConnect, then you have Meeting, Room, and Webinar. Could you just give us a little bit of a breakdown of, let's say, how people right now could use them or how it could solve problems for them, each one of those? Because they would do different things, and I think it'd be interesting for people to understand opportunities there.
Yeah, I think one of the tools that I think particularly in Ireland we don't use enough of, and I study as just a bit of background myself, John. I've kind of worked remotely for about 8 years. Okay, I spent 5 years working with an Israeli company, and I was the only employee in Ireland. And then when I worked in BT, my boss lived in Northern Ireland. She will sell them down. And even now when I work with LogMeIn, the majority of the team I work with are in North America. Okay, so I've always been a considerable distance from people that I work with. And video conferencing is a tool that we really, really underutilize in Ireland. There's some Irish people, and not just Irish people in general, some people are a little bit uneasy about seeing themselves on camera. To hear people touching themselves up on Zoom, not in the current climate, that's not okay. You're beautiful just the way you are. All right, so there's no need to be touching yourself up just to go onto a video conferencing solution and work. But that's a tool I think that really, when you physically can't be in presence with people, brings people together. GoToMeeting is one of the market leading tools. It's been around for 15 years. We acquired it as a business 3 years ago off Citrix when we bought the range of GoTo products from them. And it's a fantastic product. If you actually go into the Play Store, because a lot of people are using mobile tools at the moment, GoToMeeting is the #1 rated app in the Play Store. When you compare it to Microsoft Teams, you compare it to Zoom, compare it to Slack, compare it to WebEx, GoToMeeting's right up there. So it's a fantastic tool, and that for me is probably the biggest tool that and the biggest difference people can make now when they're working remotely is to use tools like video conferencing.
Okay, cool. And then you just mentioned there that you said you're working remote for years. So let's just talk about some of those tips of things that, let's say, putting together events or meetings. You gave some tips yesterday, I believe. You mentioned that start the event actually 5 to 10 minutes past the hour.
Well, that's one thing that's happened currently, because literally the whole of Europe started remote working on Monday, right? All the tools, and us included. There's been publicity around Zoom and Microsoft Teams, but they're not the only ones. There's been kind of bandwidth issues around the platforms in trying to contain all the traffic that's there, and also because it's combined with kids being home from school. I saw Patrick in the Slack channel there. Patrick's actually a former school friend of mine. Patrick was talking about Netflix and Netflix draining the bandwidth. So you have all the kids at home consuming Netflix as well. So you've a lot of heavy bandwidth activity going on in people's homes at the moment.
Okay.
But it's that's one of the big challenges with it. But I do think that video conferencing and using those tools day to day is really important. So I forgot your question when I drifted off the job.
No, you didn't at all. It was just in terms of tips for putting on remote events or for meetings.
Yes. Sorry. That's what I was getting. So because of the crazy bandwidth at the moment, the heaviest thing on all solutions is starting a meeting and joining a meeting. Okay, so that's what takes up most power in the platforms. And just traditionally, everybody sets their meetings to start at the top of the hour, or as Americans would say, the bottom of the hour. So if you just shift to 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after, you should be coming in at a less heavy time, and you guarantee yourself better quality of the platform.
Very good point, because the reason I was late getting on, it was keep crashing out before I could set it live. So that was exactly it. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Okay, that makes sense for what was happening earlier on. Just in terms of, you had mentioned as well in your article, with an article you posted yesterday, and I'd mentioned it to the guys on the previous chat, the biggest struggle with remote work, and people had said it was actually unplugging after work. So what do you do in terms of that as well? I mean, it's kind of a higher pressure at the moment with the way everything is. But I suppose from your experience, what do you do to kind of separate that? Because I sometimes struggle with that from working at home as well.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because everybody's different, right? I think if you're living in an apartment by yourself or with some one or two roommates, it can be quite lonely, right? And being in the apartment all day long is just tough. Not having engagement with people, interaction with people is a challenge. So even getting out for a walk, going for a stroll in the morning, that's one thing I found just the last couple of days, because I've got 3 small kids, so that creates more challenges in the house, right? But just getting out in the morning, taking the day like you would a work day, get up. I jotted down a few pointers, getting up in the morning, having a shower, getting yourself ready, shaving, making yourself look presentable, not kind of rolling out in your pajamas, sitting on the sofa, slouching and trying to open your laptop and do some work. Okay, that's going to be a bit of a struggle. So treat the day like you're going to work. We heard trust. Trust is a huge thing earlier on from leaders, right, and management, and because they can't see their staff anymore, so that puts them in a whole different world of challenges that they need to manage. But I think the way all the remote works can help them is by showing a level of maturity as well, and being serious about it, and knowing that work does need to continue. We do need to get our work done, so it's important that they show that maturity and get up and start their day on time. Create a space. Have an area in your apartment or in your home that is your work area, and keep it clean, keep it tidy. Sit it, whether it's a kitchen table or whether it's a desk in a sitting room or something like that. Make that your space of work. Again, don't try and work from your bed or from your couch. That's just it's a bit of a conflict of state that you put your body in. Again, I say so. Be disciplined as well. Get out for a walk at lunchtime. Get out for a walk in the evening. Turn off the laptop. Still follow your TV programs if you watch any soap operas. If you like to binge on a few episodes of something on Netflix, I'm currently watching Narcos Mexico season 2. That keeps me going in the evening. So just having stuff like that, turning off and watching is really important. It's also, I think, important, John, to still be social with your colleagues, to still reach out if you have the tools. So if you can instant message, if you can set a video call, something we've done is just put, 3 p.m. every day, we have a virtual coffee where everybody gets on board. They make themselves a coffee, we sit down, we all get on camera and we just chat and find out how people are getting on. It's really important to still have that human element and, just reach out to people and be a bit empathetic into the challenges they have, an ear to listen to their stories for for a little bit and just get away from the rigmarole of work. So they're kind of a few tips that I think are really important for workers, and that they adhere to those on a day-to-day basis, and then make the most of it, right? No commute, no sitting in traffic. You're home pretty much as soon as you finish work, turn off your laptop, get out for a jog. I know there's just restrictions to social distancing. We're not on total lockdown. Go for a walk on the beach, go for a bit of a hike, do something, get out and embrace the fresh air. We complain enough about commutes from time to time. Maybe not so much down at the Kilkenny, but certainly up in Dublin. Certainly if people commuting from Kilkenny to Dublin, that's a tough one as well. So just make the most of it while we can.
Yeah, cool. Listen, that's brilliant. I'm just going to check to see if anyone else has any questions on the chat. Okay, no. Oh yeah, could you tell us about as well, there's another product that you have, and I use one called Bitwarden, but you have one as well called LastPass.
Yes.
Yeah, so just tell people what those do as well, because they've been we've been using them in the office, let's say, for a couple of years, but it's become even more important since we've removed ourselves from the office.
Yeah, we would be here all day if I tried to list all my passwords and usernames for all my different accounts, whether it be my bank accounts or Electric Ireland, Board Gosh, Netflix, Hotmail, my work accounts. LastPass is basically a tool that collates all your usernames and passwords and stores them using, I'm not too sure the details of the security applications that it does to do, but it keeps it secure. And then it gives you one master username and password that then unlocks everything else. So LastPass will autofill all your different accounts that you need to log into. So it's just a really good central depository for all your usernames and passwords, and it keeps it all safe and encrypted and extra secure. Yeah,
and the great thing about them as well is that you, with these kind of password protected portals as such, is that you can share them with colleagues as well for different ones as well. So I think that's really good. So, yeah, okay. Cool. Listen, I think that covers it all, Joe, if you have anything else, but if not, appreciate it. And we'll go back to the main chat. If anything else to do, let me know if you have something there.
I just had a couple of things, just a few pointers for people that are managing a remote workforce for the first time, John, right? Because that's
brilliant.
That's a big challenge, right? Because punctuality and presenteeism is no longer a metric that they can measure by. And that's a bit of a challenge. And trust was thrown around a lot by Catherine and James and the couple before me as well from HubSpot. Sachi and Sachi. Trust is a really important thing. You just need to let it go. You need to trust them that they're gonna go and they're gonna do the work. But it'll be a test of management skills, because you need to understand what the KPIs are, right? Because it's about measuring output of work now. Okay, like I said, punctuality is not a measurement, presenteeism is not a measurement. So you really need to understand what is the work that they're doing, how are they contributing to the organization, what are the KPIs they're going to be measured by. Communicate daily. Okay, communication, you can never communicate enough in a remote situation. So always just reach in with an instant message, 15-minute video. Again, those virtual kind of coffee meetups that I talked about. Make sure everybody's included. Nobody's keep an eye out for anybody that's not, attending those virtual coffees or not at meetings, or you might be lost in the crowd a little bit, and just kind of reach out to them, make sure they're included and everything. And that's probably it then. And then I had the last one then was the virtual coffees, which you discussed. So just a few things there for people that are managing remote teams for the first time, because that's a real significant challenge. Yeah, I think we've just introduced that 3 o'clock break as well. And it is really a good idea. And I think we have one question in, Joe. So it is, since you've worked with a lot of remote working engagement tools, how would you rate MS Teams? MS Teams, do you know what? Pretty good. I think they're Microsoft have made 5 attempts at collaboration tools over the last kind of 10 years. I think it is. Microsoft Teams is the closest they've got to yet to really cracking the nut. Really good for instant messaging, really good for persistent chat, really good for file sharing. Not so reliable on external meetings, external conferencing, and telephony and stuff like that as well. Okay, so for the actual conferencing element of it, GoToMeeting actually does integrate with Microsoft Teams, or will do in the next few weeks. Zoom are probably a bit ahead of them on the meeting side as well. So I think certainly from an internal messaging chat perspective, pretty good. And if you're already in Office 365 customer, right, you can roll it out for free. So there's no additional charges there. Okay. Cool. Listen, Joe, much appreciated. No problem at all. Thanks for coming on today. And I'm just going to
put you back into the chat room if that's okay.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Cheers, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. So I suppose I'm going to get Kieran to put up in the link there, just a link to the sign up for the Tech Thursday if you aren't already part of the Tech Thursday email list, and if you want to sign up, Kieran will put it up there, and you can sign up. I'd just like to say we're back the same time. The plan is with Tech Thursday now is we're going to try and do it every week, so we'll be back next week. And with all Tech Thursdays, we really just react to what's happening after the event and decide what to do. So this time it looks like we might be exploring some of the other kind of difficult areas of remote work, which is brainstorming, ideas, discovery, and testing products. This is a great time for companies to work on their strategy if other resources have been freed up as such. So it had been mentioned in the chat there earlier on, Miro, and it had been mentioned Mural. So we may be looking at some of those products and how people can use those in their day-to-day work as well. So hopefully that's what will be happening next week. Like I said, if you're not on the list, you can sign up. Kieran has dropped it into the chat there. And that's it. I think it's pretty much the first Tech Thursday online. So to close, I'd just like to say thanks to Catherine Phibbs, my partner there, and my co-worker Kieran at Red Lemonade, who've done a lot of work and helped make sure this event went together smoothly. I'd also like to thank our speakers for giving their time, Catherine, James, Joe, Mags, and Eric. Really appreciate it. And for you guys for your contribution in the chat. I hope it was useful to you. And well, that's it. So really appreciate it. Please get in touch anytime at John at Red Lemonade, or you can go to our website and you can connect with us there. But that's it. And look, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you all next week. Cheers. Bye.